So the Happy Baby slipcover construction is going to be a multi-part series. And that's just because I want to give you as much detail as possible, but also give you the option to skip around to where you actually want to watch. So the first video is going to be about cutting your fabric, adding interfacing, and stuff like that. Then we're going to skip to the second video where we're going to start with the construction. The construction may be more than one video just to make it easy for you to find the information you need. Making the slipcover is not actually difficult. I just wanted to give you as much detail as possible so that if you get confused or need help, you have that video available to you 24 hours a day. So check out the multi-part series to figure out where you need the information, or watch them all for the fun of it. We will be doing an opening for our tag, but you do not have to. It's completely optional. If you have a vegan carrier, your carrier does not have the leather tags, you'll definitely not want to put an opening in. Please check your carrier to find out what size tag you have. This is the large tag, and there is also a small tag carrier. You'll find more information in the pattern about which size tag you have. You'll just have to do a bit of measuring. So our first step here is to do a quick check that you have all your pieces. Sometimes when you are serging or something, pieces get lost. They end up different places in your room. Your children wander off with them, you know, whatever happens in your life. Obviously, this is the back side of everything, but I have it like this because I need that square. Because that square is what we're doing next. We are creating the faced hole. So I'm gonna scooch that out. Okay, these are our original marks, but at this exact moment, I just need you to be able to see it really well. This is the line that we're going to be sewing on, so it is important that it is correct. Now we need our piece of fabric. So this came from this, and this is just another way to help you mark or to figure things out or to give you something to trace around. There's so many different ways that people like creating these faced holes. I just wanted to give you all the important parts. So what I do first is I'm going to make it so I can find this hole on the other side. So I'm going to stick these pins through. And yes, I'm putting them right on the lines because I want to know where this mark is. They're not going to be my sewing lines. I'm going to still sew on this side. But it allows me to get this piece of fabric on the other side. I'm going to fold it in quarters and just do a little bit of finger pressing so I can see that. Now I'm going to flip it over. And you can see these pins mark where everything is. So now I can kind of see, okay, this is halfway in, halfway up, basically centered. There we go. This only has to cover the hole. I try to center it, but it doesn't actually matter if it's perfectly centered. What matters is that it's covering the hole because you're not worrying about this side. That's what we're sewing on. So now I can take out these pins and I'm just going to put them back in here, and I am going to remove the pins from the other side. It's just because I don't like having any hidden pins when I'm sewing. I like to be able to see the head of every pin on the side that I am on. It's just a weird thing. But now that is good and secure. And now I can go to the sewing machine and I can sew right around there. I'm going to use a slightly smaller stitch length. And that's just for security because this, we're going to be cutting really close to the stitch line. And I want to make sure there's no chance of those stitches just coming undone. I want super security. You can even put a line of fray check around those stitches when you're done. So I'm going to sew that up. Okay, I have sewn around here, and you can see I had to do 2 lines of stitching in a couple spots. I just got almost on top of that purple line instead of slightly off of it.
If you need to take more than one line of stitching, whichever your farthest line of stitching is out is going to be the one that counts. So if there's anything that you don't want that's farther out, you need to actually do seam ripping. But if you just need to make a slightly bigger box, just go ahead and do that, not a problem. I'm going to pop these pins out, and then we are going to cut out the center. Makes people a little nervous, but it's totally okay. And then we're going to trim all the way into the corner. It needs to be the farthest line of stitching corner. So if you did 2 lines of stitching, make sure you're getting all the way there, and you need to get within a couple of threads, because that is how it's going to turn so beautifully. I tend to leave mine like this, but there is absolutely nothing wrong with coming in here and trimming out some center. Some people just like the look of it better. And now we are going to flip through this hole. So it's this facing here, and it's going to be tucked in and pulled out. There we go. And then I'm just wiggling the edge with my fingers so it lines up right on that seam. And then I'm going to give it a quick press so that everything lays nice. So now this lays all smoothly. You make sure that seam line is right along the edge. Let's check it from the other side. And that's beautiful. Now all I need to do is top stitch around here. It can be a 1/4 inch away if you want. It can be 1/8 of an inch away. Just keep it close. And this edge is going to be hiding underneath the edge of your tag. So if you really don't want stitching line showing, you need to put it pretty close so it hides underneath the edge of that leather. So just do a top stitch around. By the way, when you're sewing around a shape like this, start in the middle of one of the long edges instead of on a corner. It makes it so much easier. Next up is the invisible zipper. Here we have our invisible zipper and our fabric. You can see the zipper is much longer than what we're working on, and that's fine. It actually makes it easier because you never have to worry about the slide being in the way. I'm going to be using an invisible zipper foot today, which is the easiest way to put these in. And to do that, you do need to prep the zipper a little bit. You unzip it, and then you're going to press. Right now, the zipper curls around the edge. What we're going to do is we're going to press this flat so that when it relaxes, it just goes straight up and down. And that's just running it through your iron. Make sure to change the setting on your iron so you're not going to melt your zipper, or just go really, really fast. I have a whole video about how to do invisible zippers, so I'm not really going to do a lot of detail here about putting one in. I have pressed my zipper, and before I go any farther, I want to zip it again. So my zipper looks like a taco now, which is perfect. It means I have ironed it correctly. If it's flat like this, it has not been ironed properly. This is going to be off the end of my project, so I don't need to worry about it. Just to make sure I get my zipper in the right spot, the right side to the right part, I always like to lay everything the way it's supposed to be. And then I flip it over and stick a couple of clips or pins in just to make sure I don't manage to sew the wrong side of the zipper to the wrong part. And then I'll do the same when I do the top part. The first side of the zipper has been sewn on, and now I need to zip it up to get the placement for the other side. I'm going to push this up. You can check your zipper if you want, but I know it's going to be just right. Those invisible zipper feet are amazing. So now my other piece would be here. I'm going to plop it over. And then I'm going to line up this edge here and put a clip in. Because right now I'm trying to figure out left to right where the headrest part goes on it. And that's why I'm laying it down on top, lining up the end, and clipping it. If you're a little uncomfortable with just 2 clips, or you'd prefer pins or you want to mark the middle, you absolutely can. You can even sew the zipper from the middle to both ends. So you can start in the middle, and go that way, and start in the middle and go that way if you really want to make sure everything is centered. But remember, you have seam allowance, so if it's a tiny bit off on either of the ends, it'll be totally fine. So let's go put this other side in. Well, the zipper is in, and it's very obvious now that we have all this extra zipper tape on both sides. You will be cutting it off, but please refrain from doing so right now. We need to make sure we sew a nice stop on the end here and over here, which we'll be doing when we sew on the next piece. Also, we need to move this slide into our cover. So if it's out here and we end up sewing here, we end up not actually having a zipper pull, and that doesn't work really well and causes a lot of complication, and stitches needing to be taken out to get this pull back in. So just slide it to the center here so you don't forget. So the first thing we need to do is hold this end together to make everything easier. I have always had a really difficult time getting this to line up and match up, and so a stitch across it or do a zigzag, no matter what I do, it never looked the way I wanted it to. So it feels like cheating, but this is what I do. I fold it like this and fold it back, and I line up the teeth right next to each other. I sew right here. What ends up being right under the teeth on both sides, I just do a line of stitching right here, and somehow it ends up holding those two edges together like it's just a continuation of the zipper. I love it. So now that we have that, I want you to do an actual bit of vertical sewing on either side here to make sure our zipper is not going to go off either end if we start unzipping and forget. Because right now this can go all the way here, and we're going to cut that off in a second. We don't want our zipper to go any farther. So next you're going to do a line of stitching here and here to keep that zipper pull inside this area. Now that there's a line of stitching here and here, it is time to actually cut those zippers off. Now these zippers are made out of nylon or plastic, so you can certainly use fabric scissors, but I just use your paper scissors so you don't have to have any chance of dulling your fabric scissors. So those go away, and now your slide is not going to end up out here. Okay, next up, get these sides attached. You have reached the end of this section of the Happy Baby slipcover videos. There are probably more sections, so check out the parts and find the one that has the information that you need. Happy sewing!